All right, so I am here today with Serena Stevens, and she has done a national park spotlight for us. So Serena, what national park did you have?
The Great Smoky Mountains, and it was established June 15th, 1934.
Yeah, and have you been to this one or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. How old were you when you went?
I was really young, so I don't really remember anything, but I
But there
went.
are pictures, right? There are pictures
Um,
of you there. Okay, and what state is this in?
it is in Tennessee, and it is on part of the Appalachian Mountain chain.
Yeah, and then so you can see here's the park boundary. It's mostly Tennessee, but spills into North Carolina. So if you guys have heard of towns like Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge, those are towns right on the outskirts. And so here are some landscape views. Tell us about this one.
The Great Smoky Mountains, like the fog, is made up from water vapor in the air.
Yeah, so they're called smoky, not because they're on fire. It's a fog. And then another landscape view. And then we have a video. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop it there. I have a question for you, though, Serena. Would you do those hikes up to the tops of those?
Um, I maybe would.
Some of those look like it's a big
Yeah.
drop off down the side, huh? Okay, so when we see these beautiful mountains, one thing we notice is that they are lined with trees still at the top. So that tells us what, Serena, that they're tall or short?
They're pretty short.
They are pretty short. And so would that make you think that they're young or old?
Old.
They are old. And so here comes her landscape explanation. Take it away.
The mountains that make up part of the Appalachian mountain chain in the park began forming about 400 million years ago. Oh, you switched
Sorry,
slides.
I did. And that, what did I do? I was trying to just turn it up. Okay, those students there, this is not Serena's fault. This is my fault. Okay, what did I do with that slide?
Maybe delete it. I don't know.
No. No, no, no. Did it come back?
No.
Don't fear. Edit undo is here. Okay, so we're going to pretend that never happened, class. Back to Serena. Go. How did these mountains form?
The mountains that make up part of the Appalachian chain in the park began forming about 400 million years ago when the North American and African tectonic plates collided. This made the area into a convergent plate boundary, and the collision forced the land upwards, which is what caused the mountains to form. Over hundreds of years, weathering and erosion wore down the peaks of the mountains, making them have the gentle slopes that we now see today.
Perfect. And so what I like to share with students about this is we sang about Pangea splitting. Remember that song, Pangea Split? And really yours formed, your mountains formed not when Pangea split, but when Pangea hit, right?
Yeah.
And so what is your dominant rock type in your park?
Sedimentary rocks are the main type in the park due to weathering and erosion.
Yep, and we do find some metamorphics from the pressure of the mountain building too. And then your connection to class.
Scene 3 of the Plate Tectonics puppet show connects to how the mountains in the park were formed because it shows two continental tectonic plates colliding into one another. When this happens, neither sink since they have the same density and the mountains are formed. When we travel to Nepal, also connects to the geology in the park because the Himalayas were formed the same way.
Yeah, and so you guys and girls probably remember that fabulous puppet show, right? Where Connie and Connie Continental got together. That is a perfect connection. So you're saying, Serena, that the Appalachians would have looked like this a long time ago.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird to think about? But it's true, but it's had hundreds of millions of years for erosion. Now, I hope I did not mess these up.
I don't think.
It looks like we've got all of your attractions still. Okay, so what are some things we could see or do in your park?
Clingman's Dome is the highest point in the park and also Tennessee. When you climb all the way to the top, you're able to see over 100 miles of the park on a clear day.
Nice. And Claire Waits presented today in first block, and she said that when it's a clear day, you can see 7 different states from there.
Oh, geez.
Which, like, if you look at a map, you've got Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. There's a bunch of states that are right there, but still 7 states, impressive. So we have Clingman's Dome, and then this is definitely a unique thing you can do around this park. Tell us about this.
You're able to rent cabins to stay in or at near the park. Prices can range from $85 a night and up.
Yeah, and so like honestly, they're not much more expensive than a normal hotel room, and a whole family can stay there. Lots of times they have hot tubs. Okay, and then what about Cades Cove? Tell us about this.
With many picturesque views, Cades Cove is the most popular destination in the park. It's a closed-off valley that in the past was home to many settlers before the national park was formed.
Yeah, so you can definitely see the mountains, you can see history, and one thing that I saw when I was there were some black bears in the middle of the day. Like, it's very common to see them in Cades Cove. What about plant life in your park?
The red maple. The Smoky Mountains actually has the largest red maple tree, 135 feet tall, and has a 23-foot circumference.
That's a big tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Not like the redwoods and stuff in California, but that's big for a maple. What else?
The tulip poplar.
And
Painted trillium.
And one thing that I want you guys to notice is, like, do we have red maples here in Ohio? The answer is
yes.
Yes, because we're the same biome. We're a deciduous forest. And like you can see these wildflowers in April around here, the painted trillium, be on the lookout. And then what about your creatures? There we go.
We have black bears. The park is home to about 1,600 black bears.
Nice. And then?
The elk. These large creatures can be as much as 800 pounds.
Yes. And then finally?
The hellbender salamander.
Oh my goodness.
You can sometimes spot them hiding in the deep river pool. I did not like them, so I said that they were kind of gross.
Yes, but honestly, the Smoky Mountains are known for their salamander populations. Like it's an amphibian that exists in great amounts there. Okay, so she has two last slides, her connection, or excuse me, her current event and then her personal reflection.
As of 2020, there have been restrictions set in the park in order to make it safer for the people that decide to travel there during the pandemic. When in the park, it is required to wear a mask, and the theater and museums are closed. Special park use permits are allowed per standard guidance, which allows for groups of 25 at outdoor locations for periods of 60 minutes.
Yeah, and one thing I know that's happened in a lot of the parks this past summer, in the summer of 2020, is because we've been encouraged to do outdoor things, the parks have become very, very crowded, and then there have been safety concerns about that. And then your personal reflection, what was the most interesting thing you learned?
The most interesting thing I learned about my park was that there are over 20,000 different known species living in the park, making it extremely biodiverse. Also, it was really cool to learn that the smoke is actually naturally occurring mist that is due to water vapor and organic compounds released by trees in the dense forest areas. If I were to visit my park, and I have in the past, I would want to hike up Clingman's Dome because I don't remember ever doing it. I would also want to rent a cabin much like my family used to do when I was little.
Nice. Okay, so we're going to pause just a second, and if you need to stop us to get your presentation chart up, do it. But let's talk about what you should be typing, and then Serena and I will sign off here. So that is, I don't know that there's how you spell Serena right there. And then her park is the Great Smoky Mountains. And you can put Tennessee and North Carolina if you want, but people tend to think of it more being in Tennessee. And then it's up to you how you rank it. Serena just earned a 4 on this. She did perfectly, but it's up to you. 10 meaning the one you might want to see the most of all our parks when we plan our dream trip. And things we could, oh, wait, I almost forgot. You need to say this. So the landscape explanation is mountain building, but I want you to type this, not Pangea split, Pangea hit, right? So that's how the mountains formed when those two continents collided. And then when you're ranking it, here are some things that you might want to get a picture of that you could see or do. So there's Serena's favorite, Clingman's Dome. And if you look up like Smoky Mountain Cabin Rentals, and then the final one she had is the most popular, that's Cades Cove. And if you want to get a picture with black bears, if you just type in Cades Cove black bears, there are plenty of those. So we hope you enjoyed Serena's presentation. Serena, say bye.
Bye.
Okay, hang on, let me stop the recording.